Gentlemen, I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video we are going to look at something we haven't actually done for a while, and I feel that it's something that should be done. So what we are going to look, we're going to look at the FE4005, but we are going to do a separate video for an FE4005 video. Basically this video we're going to look at when to push and when to hold. So when to hold and when to push. So in certain tanks, obviously, a lot of people will just rush, a lot of people will camp, a lot of people will just stay where they are. Now, there is certain times when you should be either holding, there's certain times where you should either be camping, or there's certain times that you should be rushing. So we are going to use the FE4005 as a classic example because it is a very quick tank, and it can work. Or it's a quick tank when you're using the speed boost. But this also goes with any other tank. You know, it don't have to just be this tank. It can go with medium tanks, especially. Also heavy tanks. It all depends on the situation, all depends where the enemy are, and of course it all depends on what your team are doing. Now, what I wouldn't suggest, and we see it all of the time, is people just YOLOing, like completely YOLOing at the start of the game, and they completely YOLO. So we are not in a tank here that you can YOLO in, because you're just going to get wrecked. You're going to get absolutely torn apart. That poor AMX-50B. Not a good start to the game. Really not a good start to the game. But they got lucky, you know, credit where credit's due. It was a nice ammo rack. But at the moment, so we've got now one tank down. We've got our T57 Heavy over there. We've got our E50M over there as well. Now, the enemy have a couple of tanks around that way. Now, at the moment, I'm happy here. Apart from that shot there, I'm happy here because I am able still to do some damage. Now, I am going to get spotted, and I will be getting shot, not just yet, but we'll be getting shot soon. So the T50, the Kranwagen has taken out care of the T57. So at the moment, as you can see, there is an Object 263 and a Bat Chat all down there. Now, they could push. They could potentially push because the T57 is not on his own down there. He does have the E50, but the enemy, I would not suggest right now, even though a tank like that is on his own, I wouldn't suggest that they push, because if soon as they push around the corner, they have me, they've got the Kran over here, they've got a Death Star, and of course they've got the E50s, the E50M, that are all going to get some shots. Now, I'm going to wait. Now, I'm looking at this thinking, do you know what? The mouse is a one shot. The Bat Chat is definitely a one clip, and so is the Object 263. So I'm thinking, this is the time. This is the time for me to go and help the T57. If I don't, he is potentially going to die, and that will be another tank down for our team. I'm full hit points. I'm not bothered if I can't take a shot. Now, I could have got the shot on the mouse. I didn't want to yet. But now I do, so I just wanted to wait. I've got 4 shells. I wasn't going to release all 4 shells into the Object 263. I just wanted to take a shot, and it worked because as soon as I took the shot, the mouse come out and he gave me his cheeks. So that is the kind of push that you need to look at, you know, timing it correctly. If I would have pushed any sooner, they would have had more hit points. My hit points, even though there's almost 2,000 hit points, they do not last long. Honestly, the hit points don't last long. When you're in a tank with no armor, they can just absolutely vanish, and they will. If you rush, if you push too far, if you are spotted and you're not moving, you will lose your hit points very, very quickly. So always pick the perfect time to make your rush. And even though this game and the next game I am in a tank destroyer, but it is exactly the same with a heavy. It's the same with a medium, it's the same with a light tank. You know, choose your targets wisely. What people seem to do wrong every single time, so even early on, later on, doesn't matter when in the game, they could spot a tank and you could think he's on his own because there's no other tanks around him. But you've always got to prepare. You've always got to prepare for there to be more tanks around him if the enemy are not spotted. You've got to remember there are 7 teams. There are 7 people on a team. Remember that. If there's only 1 spotted, there are 6 somewhere else. So always look at the minimap. Always look at the minimap, and if you can count 7 and that guy's still on his own, then it could be a good time to rush and help your team around that area. So there is many different ways. You know, I'm not just talking about rushing either. It's not just about rushing. It's just, you know, it's about just holding. You might have to hold. It's also about you know, pushing, falling back, pushing back. You know, if you're looking and thinking, okay, the enemy are rushing, you might have to fall back a bit. So there's a load of different ways to do it, and load of different things to think of. It's not all about push, push, push. Sometimes you have to play that defensive side. And if you can see that your team are getting overrun, then you might look at it and think, you know what, I need to fall back and I need to relocate because I'm going to die. And sometimes, as something like a tank destroyer, we see it the other day in my video where people were giving a Leopard 1 a lot of stick because he decided to run away. And the other 2 mediums and light tanks that was with him, they died, and they started to give the Leopard 1 some abuse. Now, the Leopard 1 in that game could see that it's not going to go their way. And they get ripped apart because they had 1 TVP that YOLO'd completely, and the other, I think it was a bat chat, that was getting destroyed. So the best thing he could do was get out of there, save his hit points, don't lose unnecessary hit points. And that's a very, very big thing, right? You don't need to lose some hit points all the time. You need to try and save your hit points as much as possible. So here again, this game again, I've decided to push with my mediums. And the reason I do that, because the enemy have a medium and a light tank, we have a medium and a light tank, I'm going to help these guys. So if there is a medium and a light tank this side of the map, there is now a potential 3 versus 2. And with my 4 shells, I can take them out pretty quickly. So again, I'm reloading. At the minute, I'm just sitting there because I'm talking. I think I was talking to my manager or someone at the time. So I'm looking at this now. So the enemy are 1 tank down. Look at the mini-map. You know, there's 2 heavies by B. There's a tank destroyer by A. There's a tank destroyer by number 1. That's 4 tanks. There's a medium there. That's 5. So there's 1 tank that's not been spotted, and there he is. So now I know where all the enemy are. I know that. So I'm thinking, do you know what? I can push with the T62 and the Sheridan because I'm not going to run into any surprises along the way. I know where they are, and I know that these guys are at the back of the map, isolated. So we can now push. I mean, this is why I'm pushing. Look, I'm full hit points. These guys are a bit scared at pushing, but I know this E4 is pretty much on his own. Yes, he does have a grill behind, but look at the push. I mean, we managed to take his hit points very, very, very quickly. And before you know it, it is now a 5 versus 3. Them 2 are there. I know that there is a grill there who is very, very low hit points as well. So, of course, the other 2 are quite far away. So the obvious choice is to go for the grill first, which is what we are going to do. The Sheridan shooting, I'm just pushing at this point because I'm not bothered about losing that many hit points because I know I'm going to take out these guys. And again, I'm just hiding from the E100 here, waiting for a shot on the Sheridan. There's 1, can't get the shot. I've got 2 shells left, so just poke forward a little bit and then I will be able to get that shot. And before you know it, there is just 1 tank left. So it's the 3 versus 1, and we don't care at this point about losing any hit points. That was a silly shot from me. So this game, it wasn't about the damage, it was about the timing, you know, pushing at the right time. Camping, you know, if you're in a grill and you're sat at the back of the map, don't just sit there all game unless you have the shots. But there's going to be a moment in the game where you have to think, now is the time to move. So don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to push. Don't be afraid to fall back. Don't be afraid to camp if you need to, but always make sure that you time your push if you are going to push to perfection. Always look at the minimap, and you'll be able to get your idea from the minimap. Because, you know, if you can see all 7 tanks, pick the tank wisely. Especially if you're in a medium, you've got a quick tank. Especially if you're in a light tank, you've got a quick tank. Pick your medium, pick your team out, pick your enemies out one by one, and I'm sure you will start winning some games. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsy69. My next video is actually about the FV4005, where we look at the tank in more details. But for now, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Meadsy, and I will catch you all soon. Bye-bye. With